Hi everyone, welcome. If you're new here, I'm so happy to have you. And if you're one of my previous subscribers, welcome my baby dinosaurs. And so for today's video, we're gonna be kind of just chilling out, just hanging out. So just make sure you have your crystals, your food, whatever you like to do. It's just gonna be me and you talking, just casually going through this process of Joe Biden's inaugural address and everything like that. So you guys will be able to watch it live with me on live stream. Now, I cannot promise if you are on replay, if I do have a copyright, this video may get taken down. However, just enjoy it while the moment's here, okay? But yeah, all credit goes to ABC News Stories. That's what I'm using. And the countdown begins. We have less than 1 hour till Donald Trump is out of office officially. So let's just put them in, so you guys can indeed watch this as well, so you guys will be able to hear it. I'll be communicating with you guys via live chat, so you guys will be able to talk. You put the volume on.
Just astounding, and certainly a sign of the time. Some Democratic members are, we've learned, wearing body armor out here today underneath their coats. In fact, our reporter Ben Siegel spotted some Democrats greeting each other by sort of tapping on their chest, sort of a subtle acknowledgement that they are prepared. Because, of course, it was just 2 weeks ago. It's not just that they witnessed
Can you guys hear?
Violence. They were victims of it. So many who are here today to mark this transfer of power were themselves whisked away off of the Senate or House floor into a secure location. And so many members of Congress, like the rest of the country, are still reeling from this, but in a very personal way. And I have to say, on a very different note, it is just remarkable here. It's always one of my sort of favorite parts of an inauguration is just to watch former presidents and congressional leaders pal around. I have to say, President Bush, as he often does at these things, appears to be having a pretty good time. It's just fun to be able to see.
All right, perfect. Yeah, I'm glad you guys like it.
Children, we saw Joe Biden's granddaughters there.
You're welcome.
So incredibly close with them. They talk all day pretty much in one never-ending conversation.
Oh, I'm gonna put on closed captions so in case they make me take the sound down. I'll just put closed caption on.
Split screen to think that you have, so many coming together to mark really this next chapter at the same time that so many are still coming to terms and grappling with what we saw here just 2 weeks ago.
And that's right, Mary. And I want to bring in Pierre Thomas for more on that, because Pierre, every single day that goes by, we learn how much more horrifying it was inside that Capitol, inside those chambers. Members of Congress could have lost their lives.
Indeed, George. Law enforcement officials saying that members of Congress could have been kidnapped. Some of them could have been killed. I've been on the phone with sources all morning. They're talking about that every stop has been pulled. They have not taken any chances. I'm not surprised that members of Congress are wearing body armor. And George, a couple of the law enforcement officials that I spoke to, including those officers who were in the melee, talked about how while there was a major
I'm gonna go eat.
they are saying they believe that they fought to save democracy, They have no doubt that the people that would storm that Capitol were coming in to take hostages and possibly kill people. And one of the officers talked about how many of the people in the crowd were trying to turn them against members of Congress, trying to get them to help them arrest members of Congress. Just extraordinary. But they're watching with a lot of pride today, George, because they believe that they helped keep the unimaginable from happening.
Right. This was not just spontaneous combustion. There were a lot of elements of pre-planning here, Pierre.
Indeed, George. We are getting information that some of those charged had talked about coming to D.C. days earlier before the January 6th certification of Biden's election to do, quote, hunting. Law enforcement officials put out a statement through court documents yesterday that members of these groups were communicating during the.
So what are you guys eating? Good morning, everyone. This is my first morning live.
Just extraordinary. And my sources are saying that the more we learn about this and how challenging the situation was for law enforcement, fist fights throughout the Capitol, George. One of the officers talked about how they were in a hall full of basically smoke and tear gas, and that the crowd was coming down the hall, and there were about 15 officers who fought back over 100 people. And he said at that point he was dragged out the door and he was stripped of his badge. He was stripped of his, ammunition, and they were yelling, "Kill him with his own gun." Incredible, George.
Alex Rodriguez right there, I believe. Help him. Yeah, right. And Jennifer Lopez, of course, is going to be singing here at the Inaugural. Martha Raddatz, I assume, I hope at least, the 25,000 National Guards troops are going to deter and defend against any attack today. But again, talking about...
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming.
All those National Guard troops had to be screened for an inside.
What are you guys eating?
They were all vetted, and in fact, George, some of them have been kicked out. 2 members, they said, because of extremist statements that were found, and about a dozen others because of criminal background or criminal activity not related to extremism. But that has been a problem in the military over the years. They have fought to get white supremacists out and extremists out. I know that.
I love you guys. Thank you for showing up. Not eating yet? All right, no problem.
National Guard members. Again, these are citizen soldiers. This is not their full-time job. They can be nurses. They can be hairdressers. They can be anything. And
I'm hungry. Yeah.
I think
that is true.
Goodman going by there. They were all called to duty after January 6th. There was a very mild presence.
I know. Oh my God, we can finally take a rest. I completely agree with you.
We want them to be in tactical gear. The mayor of DC did not want that.
I made some bunny egg yolk with some bread, with some chopped up apples, with a little bit of lemon juice, and it was supposed to be honey, but we ran out of honey, so I substituted with maple syrup. So I have that, then I have some orange juice and water. I had to come up with something because I was running out of time, so this is what I came up with. I made a really good dish. You take tomatoes and olives, and you throw them in a pan together with a little bit of oil, a little salt, pepper, and a little oregano, and just let it burn on the side. Oh my God, it's so good.
There is the power of possibility when you see.
You're welcome, guys.
Like you, black or white, we as a nation celebrate first.
I mean, the video might be shut down, but they're not worried. Worst case is the video disappears because of copyright, but we'll worry about that tomorrow. I'm ready. You guys see Kamala? Her outfit is so beautiful.
Just about an hour from now. As we see, Pete Buttigieg is going to be incoming Secretary of Transportation, along with his husband, Chasen. 2 vice presidents talking there, Dan Quayle and Mike Pence, greeted now by Bill Clinton.
Accompanying the Vice President-elect, the Chief of Inaugural Ceremonies, Maria Miller-Lomeyer, the Acting Deputy House Sergeant-at-Arms, Kevin Grubbs, and the Acting Deputy Senate Sergeant-at-Arms, United States Capitol Police Officer, Private First Class Eugene O. Goodman.
11:11, guys. It's 11:11, so this is important. Hopefully there's no stock come out of the TV. Okay, but not.
2 weeks ago. Now escorting the Vice President-elect.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Vice President-elect of the United States, Kamala Devi Harris, and Mr. Douglas Emhoff.
Yeah, you guys see it? Look how beautiful she looks. I love the purple. It's so ethnical. You guys see that? It's symbolizing third eye, but going to the next extension. So it's no coincidence that she wears purple.
You know, her secret
Hi, everyone.
is pioneer. And that is just how so many see her. Of course, first woman district attorney in San Francisco, first woman attorney general in California, only the second black woman to become a U.S. senator. And all this, just as a reminder, from a woman who was born at a time when all black women in this country still could not vote. And so certainly this is a real moment. Of course, she gave a fist bump to former President Barack Obama. And I would imagine you were talking about the young girls, and I'd like to use Kamala's.
I know, right? Oh my God, the purple looks so good on her.
See themselves in a way that others may not. simply because they've never seen it before. And as
me too. I love it too. Yes.
The young women and girls everywhere are going to dream a bit bigger and perhaps expect just a little more.
Hug is there for her stepchildren. David, your dog Emhoff is going to carve out a new role we've never seen before, second gentleman.
I'm not promoting this.
Choose what he would be called. Second gentleman was, of course, on the list of possibilities. He's comfortable with that. So we will call him the second gentleman. He's given up his post in a prestigious law firm out west. He will now teach at Georgetown, as Cecilia mentioned earlier in our coverage here. And his children have talked in recent days about how they call their own father, their dad, Doug. They said they're so comfortable with him and who he is that they also call him Doug in the household. And they said, our parents have such a relationship. They've been married 6 years or so now, that is so connected, so tight, so close that it weirds us out in so many words. The sort of romance that's still alive, they say, between Doug and the vice president-elect. But they support Kamala, as they call her, and it's a very close relationship, a very modern family. Kamala Harris very close to their mother. And
thank you guys for being with me. I really appreciate it. I love you guys.
Kamala Harris telling me when she was running for president that she is all about people knowing that she hears them, she sees them. She repeated that when she was chosen by Joe Biden. And one of the key things as we head into this historic day is not only is she the first woman to be.
We got a little snow. Nothing wrong with that.
Young daughters and sons all over America are now learning in real time what's possible in America. She says she hopes to play the same role for Joe Biden that he played for Barack Obama, to be the last person in the room, a willingness to be honest with him, to tell her what she believes, but also knowing that ultimately the choice will be his.
Thank you, David. Rachel Scott, one of the fun things about these inaugurations, about these early days of new administrations, is all the new people you meet.
It is.
Yeah, steak and egg. Oh my god, that sounds so good. We didn't have steak though.
In this moment, the daughter of Indian and Jamaican immigrants standing there ready to take the oath in a capital where she once interned, just miles away from Howard University, the historically black college where she graduated, where she joined Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. Here on the grounds of the United States Capitol, a symbol of democracy that was built by slaves. This is her moment today as well. And when she was first elected district attorney of San Francisco, the first black woman to do so, she said she walked into her office and it was completely
I can't drink,
empty
but I have
except for
vodka.
just
Well, it's really water, but
in the middle. But George, she
no
was
one knows
so
that.
happy to be able to take her seat.
And now we're
steak and egg sounds so good.
Making its way
Accompanying me
through the crypt into the vestibule.
and Mr. John Bessler, Staff Representative Stephanie Hager,
For what will be the capstone
Majority Leader, the Honorable
of an incredible political career.
El Chow, and Staff Representative
Began with election to Newcastle County Council.
Nothing is better than having steak and a little bit of egg yolk and just take the little steak and just swirl it in. Oh my god, it's so good.
1972. He will take the
Yeah, Bob, do what you gotta do, okay, love? Thank you for tuning in.
There with Dr. Joe
Listen, you guys like what? Your egg bunny? You guys, you see Biden coming. President Biden.
He'll be looking out over a mall that is so different from most inaugurals, as we've been saying, an empty mall, a mall empty of people, filled only with flags. Representing the Americans who can't be there, the Americans we lost over this last year to the pandemic. That is,
And you gotta cook for us one day. My God, it's so much
starting
fun.
about 45 minutes from now, when he will become president of the United States.
Yes, over medium on eggs. I love mine. Just where it's just runny. Or like, of course, cooked. I overcook these eggs a little bit.
If you saw the smile behind Kamala Harris's eyes, you see the sense of responsibility, I think, behind Joe Biden's eyes right now. He knows the challenges he's
I have my
facing.
little TV up there, but I forget that it's on here as well.
Divisions he must heal. And the first step will be when he addresses the country after taking the oath. starting to snow a little bit there in Washington. As you see Amy Klobuchar, she's leading the proceedings for the Democrats today, Senator Amy Klobuchar.
Ooh. Ladies and gentlemen, accompanying the President-elect, the staff director of the Joint Congressional Committee and Inaugural Ceremony,
and that was Hunter Biden,
Fitzhugh Elder IV,
and his baby,
the acting
named after.
House Senate Sergeant.
Oh, you had me on my TV? Thank you, Johnny.
Senate Sergeant at Arms, Jennifer Hemingway.
Oh, yeah. I made so much food today. I didn't know how much I'll be hungry.
Comes the escort committee. Tara Moran, notice this escort committee, everybody from the Sergeant at Arms office is acting. That's, of course, because the Sergeant at Arms were relieved of their duty after the siege of the Capitol.
Because of that catastrophe in preparation and
that's right, 40 minutes to get sworn in.
Mission there to protect that Capitol.
Well, actually, now 43 minutes.
Is the reclaiming of that hallowed ground in our country from that violent mob back to the proper representatives of the people's democracy. They said it's our house. No, it's actually all our house, and there's a way to get there.
Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. and Dr. Jill Biden.
Oh, really? Yeah. So my TV's in sync with this one.
The step's not as full as normal, but the feeling is there. You saw that fist bump between President Obama, his Vice President Joe Biden, now President-elect, soon to be president. Taking in that moment.
Guys, Chinese food is so good. What's your favorite Chinese food? I know you guys are talking about Chinese food now. Oh, if she's singing, I think I have to turn the sound on. But then maybe
will welcome to be the first to welcome that somewhat more sparse inaugural crowd today.
Please welcome the Honorable Amy Klobuchar.
Vice President Pence, Mr. President-elect, Madam Vice President-elect, members of Congress and the judicial branch, former presidents and first ladies, vice presidents, leaders from abroad, and a whole bunch of Bidens. America, welcome to the 59th presidential inauguration, where in just a few moments, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris will take their solemn oaths. This ceremony is the culmination of 244 years of a democracy. It is the moment when leaders brought to the stage by the will of the people promise to be faithful to our Constitution, to cherish it and defend it. It is the moment when they become, as we all should be, guardians of our country. Have we become too jaded, too accustomed to the ritual of the passing of the torch of democracy to truly appreciate what a blessing and a privilege it is to witness this moment? I think not. 2 weeks ago, when an angry, violent mob staged an insurrection and desecrated this temple of our democracy, it awakened us to our responsibilities as Americans. This is the day when our democracy picks itself up, brushes off the dust, and does what America always does. Goes forward as a nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I don't think that's the country.
Of a sacred trust between our leaders and our people takes place in front of this shining Capitol dome for a reason. When Abraham Lincoln gave his first inaugural address in front of this Capitol, the dome was only partially constructed, braced by ropes of steel.
He promised he would finish it. He was criticized for spending funds on it during the Civil War. To those critics, he replied, "If the people see the Capitol going on, it is a sign we intend the Union shall go on." And it did, and it will.
That's a beautiful message.
Generations of Americans gave their lives to preserve our republic in this place. Great legislation to protect civil rights and economic security and lead the world was debated and crafted under this dome. Now it falls on all of us, not just the two leaders we are inaugurating today, to take up the torch of our democracy, not as a weapon of political arson, but as an instrument for good. We pledge today never to take our democracy for granted as we celebrate its remarkable strength. We celebrate its resilience, its grit. We celebrate the ordinary people doing extraordinary things for our nation, the doctors and nurses on the front line of this pandemic, the officers in the Capitol, a new generation never giving up hope for justice. We celebrate a new president, Joe Biden, who vows to restore the soul of America and cross the river of our divides to a higher plane. And we celebrate our first African American, first Asian American, and first woman vice president, Kamala Harris, who stands on the shoulders of so many on this platform who have forged the way to this day. When she takes the oath of office, little girls and boys across the world will know that anything and everything is possible. And in the end, that is America, our democracy, a country of so much good. And today, on these Capitol steps and before this glorious field of flags, we rededicate ourselves to its cause. Thank you. It is now my honor to introduce to you the senator who has worked with me and so many others to make this ceremony possible. My friend and the chair of the inaugural committee, Missouri Senator Roy Blunt.
At one point, I thought she was going to say Josh Hawley. I was going to speak out. It's a bad joke.
Well, I should have known when Senator Klobuchar got involved, at least there'd be a touch of snow up here this morning. Of all the things we'd considered, I don't think snow was on my agenda until I walked out the door a moment ago. But thank you, Senator Klobuchar, and thanks to the other members of the Joint Congressional Committee on the Inauguration as we officially began the 59th inaugural ceremony. I also want to thank the Joint Committee staff and our partners, particularly our security partners, for the way they've dealt with unprecedented circumstances. When I chaired the inauguration 4 years ago, I shared President Reagan's 1981 description of this event as commonplace and miraculous. Commonplace because we've done it every 4 years since 1789. Miraculous because we've done it every 4 years since 1789. Americans have celebrated this moment during war, during depression, and now during pandemic. Once again, all three branches of our government come together as the Constitution envisions. Once again, we renew our commitment to our determined democracy, forging a more perfect union. That theme for this inauguration, our determined democracy, forging a more perfect union, was announced by the Joint Committee before the election, with the belief that the United States can only fulfill its promise.
I know, I was so happy I woke up.
For others, if we are always working to be better than we have been. The Constitution established that determined democracy with its first three words, declaring the people as the source of the government. The Articles of Confederation hadn't done that. The Magna Carta hadn't done that. Only the Constitution says the government exists because the people are the source of the reason it exists. They immediately followed those first three words with the words to form a more perfect union. The founders did not say to form a perfect union. They did not claim that in our new country nothing would need to be improved. Fortunately, they understood that always working to be better would be the hallmark of a great democracy. The freedoms we have today, the nation we have today, is not here just because it happened, and they aren't complete. A great democracy working through the successes and failures of our history, striving to be better than it had been. And we are more than we have been, and we are less than we hope to be. The assault on our Capitol at this very place just 2 weeks ago reminds us that a government designed to balance and check itself is both fragile and resilient. During the last year, the pandemic challenged our free and open society and called for extraordinary determination and sacrifice, and still challenges us today. Meeting that challenge head on have been and are healthcare workers, scientists, first responders, essential frontline workers, and so many others we depend on in so many ways. Today we come to this moment. People all over the world, as we're here, are watching and will watch what we do here. Our government comes together. The Congress and the courts join the transition of executive responsibility. One political party more pleased today and on every inaugural day than the other. But this is not a moment of division. It's a moment of unification. A new administration begins and brings with it a new beginning. And with that, our great national debate goes forward, and a determined democracy will continue to be essential in pursuit of a more perfect union and a better future for all Americans. What a privilege for me to join you today. Thank you. I'm pleased to call to the podium a longtime friend of the president-elect and his family, Father Leo O'Donovan, to lead us in an invocation. Please stand if you are able and remain standing for the national anthem and the pledge to our flag. Thank you, Senator.
Gracious and merciful God, at this sacred time we come before you in need, indeed on our knees. But we come still more with hope and with our eyes raised anew to the vision of a more perfect union in our land, a union of all our citizens to promote the general welfare and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. We are a people of many races, creeds, and colors, national backgrounds, cultures, and styles, now far more numerous and on land much vaster than when Archbishop John Carroll wrote his prayer for the inauguration of George Washington 232 years ago. Archbishop Carroll prayed that you, O Creator of all, would assist with your Holy Spirit of counsel and fortitude the President of these United States, that his administration may be conducted in righteousness and be eminently useful to your people. Today we confess our past failures to live according to our vision of equality, inclusion, and freedom for all. Yet we resolutely commit still more now to renewing the vision, to caring for one another in word and deed, especially the least fortunate among us, and so becoming a light for the world. There is a power in each and every one of us that lives by turning to every other one of us, a thrust of the Spirit to cherish and care and stand by others, and above all, those most in need. It is called love, and its path is to give ever more of itself. Today, it is called American patriotism, born not of power and privilege, but of care for the common good, with malice toward none and with charity for all. For our new president, we beg of you the wisdom Solomon sought when he knelt before you and prayed for an understanding heart, so that I can govern your people and know the difference between right and wrong. We trust in the counsel of the letter of James. If any of you lacks wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you. Pope Francis has reminded us how important it is to dream together. By ourselves, he wrote, we risk seeing mirages, things that are not there. Dreams, on the other hand, are built together. Be with us, holy mystery of love, as we dream together. Help us under our new president to reconcile the people of our land, restore our dream and invest it with peace and justice and the joy that is the overflow of love. To the glory of your name, forever. Amen.
To carry all of us forward. And we can do that now. History, faith, and reason show the way of unity. We can see each other not as adversaries, but as neighbors. We can treat each other with dignity and respect. We can join forces, stop the shouting, and lower the temperature. For without unity, there is no peace, only bitterness and fury. No progress, only exhausting outrage. No nation, only a state of chaos. This is our historic moment of crisis and challenge. And unity is the path forward. And we must meet this moment as the United States of America. If we do that, I guarantee you we will not fail. We have never, ever, ever, ever failed in America. We've acted together. And so today, at this time, in this place, let's start afresh, all of us. Let's begin to listen to one another again, hear one another, see one another, show respect to one another. Politics doesn't have to be a raging fire, destroying everything in its path. Every disagreement doesn't have to be a cause for total war. And we must reject the culture in which facts themselves are manipulated and even manufactured.
Preach your body, preach!
My fellow Americans, we have to be different than this. America has to be better than this. And I believe America is so much better than this. Just look around. Here we stand in the shadow of the Capitol Dome, as was mentioned earlier, completed amid the Civil War, when the Union itself was literally hanging in the balance. Yet we endured. We prevailed. Here we stand, looking out on the great mall where Dr. King spoke of his dream. Here we stand where 108 years ago, at another inaugural, thousands of protesters tried to block brave women marching for the right to vote. And today, we mark the swearing in of the first woman in American history elected to national office, Vice President Kamala Harris. Don't tell me things can't change. Here we stand across the Potomac from Arlington Cemetery, where heroes who gave the last full measure of devotion, rest in eternal peace. And here we stand, just days after a riotous mob thought they could use violence to silence the will of the people, stop the work of our democracy, to drive us from this sacred ground. It did not happen. It will never happen. Not today, not tomorrow, not ever. Not ever. To all those who supported our campaign, I'm humbled by the faith you placed in us. To all those who did not support us, let me say this. Hear me out as we move forward. Take a measure of me and my heart. If you still disagree, so be it. That's democracy. That's America. The right to dissent peaceably within the guardrails of our republic is perhaps this nation's greatest strength. Yet hear me clearly. Disagreement must not lead to disunion. And I pledge this to you. I will be a president for all Americans. All Americans.
Yeah.
And I promise you, I will fight as hard for those who did not support me as for those who did.
Trump never said that.
Many centuries ago, St. Augustine, a saint of my church, wrote that a people was a multitude defined by the common objects of their love. Defined by the common objects of their love. What are the common objects we as Americans love that define us as Americans?
Hamburgers and hot dogs.
I think we know. Opportunity, security, liberty, dignity, respect, honor, and yes, the truth. Recent weeks and months have taught us a painful lesson. There is truth and there are lies. Lies told for power and for profit. And each of us has a duty and a responsibility as citizens, as Americans, and especially as leaders. Leaders who have pledged to honor our Constitution and protect our nation, to defend the truth and defeat the lies. Look, I understand that many of my fellow Americans view the future with fear and trepidation. I understand they worry about their jobs. I understand, like my dad, they lay a bed wondering, can I keep my health care?
What happened?
Can I pay my mortgage? Thinking about their families, about what comes next. I promise you, I get it. But the answer is not to turn inward, to retreat into competing factions, distrusting those who don't look like you, or worship the way you do, or don't get their news from the same sources you do. We must end this uncivil war that pits red against blue, rural versus urban, or rural versus urban, conservative versus liberal. We can do this if we open our souls instead of hardening our hearts. If we show a little tolerance and humility, and if we're willing to stand in the other person's shoes, as my mom would say, just for a moment, stand in their shoes. Because here's the thing about life. There's no accounting for what fate will deal you. Some days, when you need a hand, there are other days when we're called to lend a hand. That's how it has to be. This is what we do for one another. And if we are this way, our country will be stronger, more prosperous, more ready for the future. And we can still disagree. My fellow Americans, in the work ahead of us, we're going to need each other. We need all our strength to persevere through this dark winter. We're entering what may be the toughest and deadliest period of the virus. We must set aside politics and finally face this pandemic as one nation. One nation. And I promise you this, as the Bible says, weeping may endure for a night, but joy cometh in the morning. We will get through this together. Together. Look, folks, all my colleagues I serve with in the House and the Senate up here, we all understand the world is watching all of us today. So here's my message to those beyond our borders. America has been tested, and we've come out stronger for it. We will repair our alliances and engage with the world once again. Not to meet yesterday's challenges, but today's and tomorrow's challenges. And we'll lead not merely by the example of our power, but by the power of our example. We'll be a strong and trusted partner for peace, progress, and security. Look, you all know we've been through so much in this nation. And my first act as president, I'd like to ask you to join me in a moment of silent prayer. Remember all those who we lost in this past year to the pandemic. Those 400,000 fellow Americans, moms, dads, husbands, wives, sons, daughters, friends, neighbors, and coworkers. We'll honor them by becoming the people and the nation we know we can and should be. So I ask you, let's say a silent prayer for those who've lost their lives and those left behind, and for our country.
Good.
Amen. Folks, this is a time of testing. We face an attack on our democracy and on truth. A raging virus, growing inequity, the sting of systemic racism, a climate in crisis, America's role in the world. Any one of these would be enough to challenge us in profound ways. But the fact is, we face them all at once, presenting this nation with one of the gravest responsibilities we've had. Now we're going to be tested. Are we going to step up, all of us? It's time for boldness, for there's so much to do. And this is certain. I promise you, we will be judged, you and I, by how we resolve these cascading crises of our era. We will rise to the occasion is the question. Will we master this rare and difficult hour? Will we meet our obligations and pass along a new and better world to our children? I believe we must. I'm sure you do as well. I believe we will. And when we do, we'll write the next great chapter in the history of the United States of America, the American story. A story that might sound something like a song that means a lot to me. It's called American Anthem. There's one verse that stands out, at least for me, and it goes like this. The work and prayers of century have brought us to this day. What shall be our legacy? What will our children say? Let me know in my heart when my days are through. America, America, I gave my best to you. Let's us add our own work and prayers to the unfolding story of our great nation. If we do this, then when our days are through, our children and our children's children will say of us, they gave their best, they did their duty, they healed a broken land. My fellow Americans, I close the day where I began, with the sacred oath. Before God and all of you, I give you my word. I will always level with you. I will defend the Constitution. I'll defend our democracy. I'll defend America. And will give all of you, keep everything I do in your service thinking not of power, but of possibilities, not of personal interest, but the public good. And together we shall write an American story of hope, not fear, of unity, not division, of light, not darkness, a story of decency and dignity, love and healing, greatness and goodness. May this be the story that guides us, the story that inspires us, and the story that tells ages yet to come that we answer the call of history. We met the moment. Democracy and hope, truth and justice did not die on our watch but thrived. That America secured liberty at home and stood once again as a beacon to the world. That is what we owe our forebears, one another, and generation to follow. So, with purpose and resolve, we turn to those tasks of our time, sustained by faith, driven by conviction, and devoted to one another and the country we love with all our hearts. May God bless America, and may God protect our troops. Thank you, America.
The inaugural address of Joseph Robinette Biden, now 46th President of the United States. Powerful, personal, emotional at times, delivered with command. The new president called Americans to empathy.
Oops. Sorry, guys. Don't know what happened. All right, so I'm turning off the audio so we can do any readings. So I'll be taking questions from the live chat. So I'll be doing some tarot card reading. So this is amazing. We have a 46th president of the United States. So congratulations, President Biden, and congratulations to, I'm not sure what number Kamala Harris is, but congratulations to Vice President Kamala Harris, the very first woman, Asian, and Black American to hold the office of the vice presidency. So this is quite amazing. However, she will not be the first person of color to hold that office of the vice presidency. There was a guy under Hoover, funny enough, happened to have a Native American in the office of the vice president, although that person didn't really do right by the Native American culture, which is very sad. All right, she's 49. Thank you, Susan. So she's 49. Oh, is he singing?
Sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. When we've been there 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun, we've no less days to see God's praise than when we first begun. If I can ask you to sing this last verse with me, not just the people here, but the people at home, at work, as one, united. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see.
Garth Brooks, Amazing Grace. Echoing the new president's calls to unite America. We'll now hear a poem from Amanda Gordon. Not quite social distance there for Garth Brooks. Hugs there. Former President Bill Clinton. Because he can't help himself.
I don't know why it's so fast.
Hard not to be reminded of President Obama's singing that same song at the Mother Emanuel Church. A song that in our culture is as close to both poetry and prayer as you could possibly come. And we're going to finish with those two things. Let me introduce Amanda Gorman, our nation's first ever National Poet Laureate.
She's the youngest ever.
Mr. President, Dr. Biden, Madam Vice President, Mr. Emhoff, Americans, and the world. When day comes, we ask ourselves, where can we find light in this never-ending shade? The loss we carry, a sea we must wade. We've braved the belly of the beast. We've learned that quiet isn't always peace, and the norms and notions of what just isn't always just is. And yet the dawn is hours before we knew it. Somehow we do it. Somehow we've weathered and witnessed a nation that isn't broken, but simply unfinished. We, the successors of a country and a time where a skinny Black girl descended from slaves and raised by a single mother can dream of becoming president, only to find herself reciting for one. And yes, we are far from polished, far from pristine, but that doesn't mean we are striving to form a union that is perfect. We are striving to forge our union with purpose, to compose a country committed to all cultures, colors, characters, and conditions of man. And so we lift our gaze not to what stands between us, but what stands before us. We close the divide because we know to put our future first. We must first put our differences aside. We lay down our arms so we can reach out our arms to one another. We seek harm to none and harmony for all. Let the globe, if nothing else, say this is true. That even as we grieved, we grew, that even as we hurt, we hoped, that even as we tired, we tried, that we'll forever be tied together, victorious, not because we will never again know defeat, but because we will never again sow division. Scripture tells us to envision that everyone shall sit under their own vine and fig tree, and no one shall make them afraid. If we're to live up to our own time, then victory won't lie in the blade, but in all the bridges we've made. That is the promised glade, the hill we climb, if only we dare it, because being American is more than a pride we inherit. It's the past we step into and how we repair it. We've seen a force that would shatter our nation rather than share it, would destroy our country if it meant delaying democracy. And this effort very nearly succeeded. But while democracy can be periodically delayed, it can never be permanently defeated. In this truth, in this faith we trust, for while we have our eyes on the future, history has its eyes on us. This is the era of just redemption. We feared it in its inception. We did not feel prepared to be the heirs of such a terrifying hour, but within it we found the power to author a new chapter, to offer hope and laughter to ourselves. So, while once we asked, how could we possibly prevail over catastrophe? Now we assert, how could catastrophe possibly prevail over us? We will not march back to what was, move to what shall be, a country that is bruised but whole, benevolent but bold, fierce and free. We will not be turned around or interrupted by intimidation, because we know our inaction and inertia will be the inheritance of the next generation. Our blunders become their burdens. But one thing is certain: if we merge mercy with might and might with right, then love becomes our legacy and change our children's birthright. So let us leave behind a country better than the one we were left with. Every breath from my bronze pounded chest, we will raise this wounded world into a wondrous one. We will rise from the gold-limbed hills of the west. We will rise from the wind-swept northeast, where our forefathers first realized revolution. We will rise from the lake-rimmed cities of the Midwestern states. We will rise from the sun-baked south. We will rebuild, reconcile, and recover in every known nook of our nation, in every corner called our country. Our people, diverse and beautiful, will emerge battered and beautiful. When day comes, we step out of the shade of flame and unafraid. The new dawn blooms as we free it. For there is always light, if only we're brave enough to see it, if only we're brave enough to be it.
I'll be doing a reading on that in a little bit on like a video tonight. I am gonna do a reading on that later because I was listening to some of her messages and sometimes it's encoded. So there's a message inside that entire post. So I'll be doing a little tarot card reading on it because I did find there are some hidden messages. She talks about the beast. And we know how we always talk about 45 being the Antichrist. And so they're talking about the beast here. So I think that's pretty interesting to say the least. I wonder who he is.
As a nation and people of faith gathered in this historical moment, let us unite in prayer. God, we gather under the beauty of your holiness and the holiness of your beauty. We seek your face, your smile, your warm embrace. We petition you once more in this celebration. We pray for divine favor upon our president, Joseph R. Biden, and our First Lady, Dr. Jill Biden, and their family. We further ask that you would extend the same favor upon our Vice President, Kamala D. Harris, and our second gentleman, Doug Emhoff, and their family. More than ever, they and our nation need you. We need you, for in you we discover our common humanity. In our common humanity, we will seek out the wounded and bind their wounds. We will seek healing for those who are sick and diseased. We will mourn our dead. We will befriend the lonely, the least, and the left out. We will share our abundance with those who are hungry. We will do justly to the oppressed, acknowledge sin, and seek forgiveness, thus grasping reconciliation. In discovering our humanity, we will seek the good in and for all our neighbors. We will love the unlovable, remove the stigma of the so-called untouchables. We will care for our most vulnerable, our children, the elderly, emotionally challenged, and the poor. We will seek rehabilitation beyond correction. We will extend opportunity to those locked out of opportunity. We will make friends of our enemies. We will make friends of our enemies. People, your people, shall no longer raise up weapons against one another. We will rather use our resources for the national good and become a beacon of life and goodwill to the world. And neither shall we learn hatred anymore. We will lie down in peace and not make our neighbors afraid. In you, O God, we discover our humanity. In our humanity, we discover our commonness. Beyond the difference of color, creed, origin, political party, ideology, geography, and personal preferences, we'll become greater stewards of your environment, preserving the land, reaping from it a sustainable harvest, and securing its wonder and miracle-giving power for generations to come. This is our benediction, that from these hallowed grounds, where slaves labored to build this shrine and citadel to liberty and democracy, let us all acknowledge, from the indigenous Native American to those who recently received their citizenship, from the African American to those whose foreparents came from Europe and every corner of the globe, from the wealthy to those struggling to make it, from every human being, regardless of their choices, that this is our country. As such, teach us, O God. As such, teach us, O God, to live in it, love in it, be healed in it, and reconcile to one another in it, lest we miss kingdom's goal. To your glory, majesty, dominion, and power forever. Hallelujah. Glory, hallelujah. In the strong name of our collective faith. Amen.
Please remain standing as the Armed Forces Color Guard retires our national colors.
Echoes of Martin Luther King Jr. there. In the benediction, Reverend Dr. Sylvester Beeman, with a prayer and a plea for unity in this country so deeply divided right now. Cecilia Vega, unity, the theme of the day, the theme of this inaugural ceremony, the theme of Joe Biden's presidential campaign, clearly going to be the early theme of his presidency. He said, my whole soul is in this, bringing America together.
George, this was an inaugural speech aimed at uniting the country, but so much of this was speaking directly to Donald Trump supporters or those who may be doubting Joe Biden's legitimacy. He said, we won this. This is democracy. You are seeing it in action. It's not about a candidate. Democracy has prevailed. But he also used this moment to attempt to reclaim truth. We just saw an outgoing president who, by counts, issued more than 33 some odd thousand assaults on the truth, mistruths, and this was about taking truth and reclaiming facts, George.
He did do that, and Mary Bruce, you're there at the Capitol today. He did not shy away from mentioning that siege of the Capitol 2 weeks ago. Told the country, told the world, what we saw there will not prevail.
It was a fierce rejection of that kind of hate, of that kind of violence, as he did make this call for unity. And George, I have to say, I've listened to a lot of Joe Biden speeches, and he talks about unity a lot. And what always strikes me is that Biden is not a man of hyperbole. He views unity not as some lofty goal, but as a practical critical necessity. And you heard that here today. It's saying to tackle this pandemic, to address racial injustice, the country's going to have to come together. Put aside your differences and work towards some common goals. As he said, without unity, there is no progress. And of course, without mentioning
with all the
President
presidents, and there's 46. With Obama.
I kept thinking about, that famous line that Donald Trump said, "I alone can fix it." The message today from Joe Biden was, "We alone can fix it." If this country has any hope of moving forward, it is going to take everyone coming together. And as Cecilia said, that message to the more than 70 million Americans who voted for President Trump was quite simple and very classic Joe Biden. Him essentially saying, just give me a chance.
Give him a chance. He used that folks a few times. Rachel Scott up there on Capitol Hill, part of that message. I will be a president for all Americans.
That's exactly what he was saying. And it was his main message on the campaign trail. It was the theme of this inauguration here today. And of course, it comes only 2 weeks after we saw what was an insurrection here at the Capitol. Joe Biden saying, this is a new chapter. Let's turn the page. Let's write this. And so much of this was about democracy prevailing at a time when it was tested. Democracy prevailing at a time when we saw rioters here try to overturn the results of an election. And I can't help but think about Vice President Mike Pence there, who was under immense pressure to do something that he constitutionally just could not do. And he resisted. And today he is there for this moment. President Trump is not, George.
He certainly is not. And of course, President Biden did thank his predecessors who were there today. Thank President Carter, who could not make it today. David Muir, that silence, failing to mention President Trump at all, that silence may have been the most eloquent and elegant rebuke possible.
It was profound not to hear. We were told this would be looking forward, but we did not hear him mention his predecessor at all. And there was the other moment, George, where he prayed in silent prayer for the 400,000 American lives lost in just 1 year in this country, and asked that America watching today pray with him. And I'm thinking about the millions of Americans around the country watching this, the 81 million who voted for Joe Biden, the 74 million who voted for Donald Trump. And we know the vast majority of Americans did not like what they saw 2 weeks ago. They were angered by it, frightened by it, saddened by it. And he said, we stand here just days after that mob tried to stop.
You guys, you see how she's wearing blue and Kamala wearing purple? It's talking about we're going to the higher ascension because they're wearing higher level chakras.
And said, we will get through this together. Look, folks.
She's wearing blue, and she's also wearing Inaugural.
And he asked the American people, we face this all at once. Are we going to step up? He says, I believe we will. And the imagery of what they pull off today, the 25,000 National Guard troops who secured the Capitol, the green zone that we talk about in Iraq.
All right, so let's start some readings. I know a lot of you guys have probably been waiting for that. I'll have this little playing in the background so you guys can still watch it as well. It won't be too long of a video only because I do have a doctor appointment, but we'll get some reading then. So start asking some questions that you would like to know about Biden. Ding dong, Donnie is now gone. It's quite amazing, I was so happy, and thank you all, every single one of you, for being a part of this amazing channel and for staying with me throughout my entire journey here. I am delighted to have you all, and it's just amazing. And, I do hope you do decide to stay with me onto our very next journey together. And so I do hope you do decide to stay, and if you do not, I understand. I mean, Trump was a once-in-a-lifetime candidate where he got us really more involved in politics, and that he, in a way, he stirred up the problem of the United States. It was like he took, those ice cubes, when you're going to get, the refrigerator and the ice cube falls on the floor, what do? Normally you kick it underneath the fridge, right? You kind of pretend like it doesn't exist. And so, by having Trump as president, I'm saying that he was supposed to be here, but he was supposed to uncover all that water that's underneath that refrigerator that we have ignored. And that is why this is extremely important for this candidate, Joe Biden, to be the next president, because we have now seen the worst of America. And now what we're about to see is the best of America. But come 2024 will be one of the most important elections in your lifetime. And I know I said this in my other videos as well, way before the election. 2024 will be the most important election ever. You want to know why? Because you can either repudiate the kindness, the love, the beautifulness, the coming together, the unity between people of all different backgrounds, from all different diversity, from all different political perspectives to come together. It could either be a repudiation of that or become an allowance, or where we allow the unity to keep going forward. The question remains is, do we go back to the hate rhetoric of Donald John Trump, or do we continue forward with the Biden, with all about unity? And that's the question that we all have to consider going forward. And so it's okay, Fox, if you missed most of it. I have the video up for you. There may not be sound. It really depends on copyright issues. And I love you all. So let's just read on Joe Biden and stuff like that. All right. I want to take this off now that you guys seen it. Okay. Kind of like me taking my clothes off, but I'm like on. All right, so the one thing is I talked about earlier on a couple of my videos a long time ago, and I talked about there was a preacher who talked about that Donald Trump, or the next man, he was famous in 2016, and he happened to die right before the 2016 election, and he said, and I quote, well, I may not be able to quote this specifically, but what he did say was that the next man who goes in is not the David, my chosen one, will not come in a time of Obama, but will come in when this new one arises, my David. What basically means is that if you listen to it and listen to the context, it talks about Obama, and there is no man that's going to come in after Obama in terms of the chosen one. It will come when this new one arises, which is Trump. And the new one that comes after him, since David, is Biden. And that's why I'm saying that in order to have, the chosen one, you need the darkness. And we went through the darkness and we all survived. So pat yourself on the back. We survived. We did a wonderful job. So if you are here today, we survived the wrath of the Antichrist. And now we're about to see David. So let's take a look. Spirit angels tell me about this. Is Biden the chosen one? Is Biden the chosen one? Is he the one that you have chosen for the presidency to come in and help unify the country of the United States? So the first card is no more fighting, unification. What else do we need to know about the Spirit? Coming together, seeing common ground, understanding each other, having peace, tranquility, understanding. We have to make a decision what way we want to go going forward. Do you want to stay sick with the hateful ideology, or do you want to go forward with more peace, love, and prosperity? What else do we want to know, Spirit? We have here going into a brand new era, walking in, enjoying life at its fullest. Just take it by the rope. Don't be so hell-bent on, don't let political control your life. This is basically what it's saying. And what else do we need to know about this? About President Biden. Is he the chosen one that you have chosen to go into the Oval Office? Okay, so we have here, this is Trump, right? Talking about Trump. So it looks like there's something going on with Trump, and I talked about this yesterday, and look what card came out. So it tells me that there's something going on with Trump. So I have to read on him right after this. But he's no longer the leader, right? A lot of you guys know that's my leader card. And then here it is, the VP's in, and someone's hurt. Interesting. It's not Biden, so you're fine. Biden's fine, obviously, we all know that. He's just been inaugurated. It's a Republican down, and here's the card, death. So it looks like someone's injured. Someone's injured that we're not aware of. Remember when I said there's something that's going to happen, but we're not going to be known about it because it's not going to be on the news. So something's happening, but it doesn't look like spirits and angels want me to answer whether or not Biden is the chosen one. So I'm going to see if I can use a different deck and see if I can get an answer from that. All right, so let's see. We're using this deck. It's the Biden deck that I have right here. So let's see. Spirits and Angels tell me, is President Biden the chosen one that you have put into office to help heal the nation? Is Biden the chosen one? Yeah, he is. You see here? It's no longer about holding on to power. I'm going to move this up so you can see. It's no longer about holding on to power. It's all about understanding, seeing the beauty from behind, but looking at everything from a different perspective. We have here again someone laying down. There's a retreat coming, right? It's gonna be a death of the hateful ideology. But look what's in the window. Calmness, joy, and happiness. You know, we're retreating from the hateful, disgusting ideology. And here we have he is meant to be President of the United States. And you can see here as well, we have he has the key, he has both keys, he has the dove, and here is the government. This is the government card. So he is meant to be the government of the United States. He's supposed to be the head figure. He is. President Biden is the chosen one. So we can all celebrate and understand and sleep well tonight, knowing that Trump no longer has power. But let's take a look at another question that a lot of you guys are asking is, how is Donald Trump feeling? Spirits and Angels tell me, how is former President Trump feeling? Okay, that card flew right out. What else do we need to know about this? Anything else? All right, so we have here defeat, loss. So something going on here, and here it is, the presidency. He feels like he lost his presidential protection. That's what he's concerned about, his investigation. He feels like he lost his presidential protection from everything. We have here as well, he knows he has to leave, so he's going to try to escape. He knows all the investigations are going to hit him all at once. And the question remains is, what will he have left? And so that is what Trump is thinking right now. What will he have left? And I think that's an obvious question, that a no-brainer. Everyone would know that, right? Doesn't take a lot to know that. But what we can say for sure is that this is a remarkable, and it's his history in the making. You know, at one point I said to myself, I wonder how my parents felt living in the history book. And here we are today, watching history as it unfolds once again.
I think he gave the speech he needed to give. And but again, today is today. And then tomorrow work starts. And I think for all of us, whether it was Rahm as mayor or me as governor, you know, the day you get sworn in is an amazing day, and you speak to your highest aspirations. And then the next day, everybody shows up to work. And they got to decide, how are you going to execute on the aspirations that you spoke? And that's the great challenge that faces the president and faces everyone. I would say that I think that President Trump missed a moment at the very beginning of his presidency. He could have brought people together behind an infrastructure package that the country desperately needed, and gotten Republican and Democratic votes for it. I hope that President Biden puts that up pretty early on to show that he can make the aspirations that he spoke about today a reality of governing. If he does that, it will make him a more powerful president.
The hard work is going to begin immediately. COVID front and center, his COVID relief bill, as we see. The new Vice President of the United States saying farewell to the man who was Vice President of the United States for the last 4 years, Mike Pence and Karen Pence. He served in the House as well. Now, his first walk down those Capitol steps as a former Vice President of the United States. Rahm Emanuel, your thoughts on the speech?
I'd make 2 quick points. These days are usually self-asserting about democracy and the American story. I think when you look at the whole day's event, it's almost becoming self-reassuring about America's story and its democracy. We have to actually convince ourselves, given what happened 2 weeks ago. The second is, the American motto is out of many one. And underneath all of this is a basic point that after the last 4 years, we deviated from that motto. And I think when you really strip back what Joe Biden was talking about.
Okay, so when I go back, I know someone was saying here, oops, sorry. We have here, there are a lot of people out there who fervently believe that 45 will still become president today somehow. How are they feeling? You know, I looked at my parents and they still believe in their own heart that Trump will still be president. Even though I told them numerous and numerous again, he was never going to be president. He can't be. He's illegitimate. He's a fraud. He's not real president. He had never been elected to office. So let's take a look. How are the people who are saying that Trump was elected to the office? I mean, excuse me, Spirit Angels tell me. How are those people feeling, the Trumpers and people who still believe that Trump will still be the next president of the United States? They know it's over. That I will say. Because we have here as well, they know that now they have to unify. They have to take the country. There's nothing else they can do. They feel like Trump is out, like he's gone, and that there's nothing they can do. Biden's already sworn in. It's official. We have here's Inauguration Day, which is today, right? This is Inauguration. If you look at the wand, it's an eye. Then we also have here as well, we have my Biden card. Biden and the democracy as a whole was victorious. We let through and we didn't allow these people to take over basically our country and install a dictatorship. We have here as well, we have a brand new leader, and it now starts talking about what do we go from here now? Where do we go? There's a lot of important things that we have to do and coming together, unifying. And it feels like this is a wake-up call for some Republicans, not all of them, but it looks like for some of those people who truly believe in their own heart that Trump will still become president, it feels as if what I'm looking at that they are starting to analyze, they're starting to reconsider everything, they're starting to go through everything that Trump has done. It feels like they're undergoing a wake-up call right now. They're undergoing a wake-up call. A lot of them are going to realize, oh, it wasn't as bad as I expected, kind of thing, like that kind of response. But it's also they're starting to replay all the things that Trump did in their own head and say, why do I allow that stuff to happen? You know what I mean? And yes, I completely agree. I'm so happy there was no attack today, no terrorist attack. I completely agree with you, Julie. I completely agree. And here we have they still believe that democracy is moving forward in that. In the end, they're just happy, for some of them at least. Not all of them, but some of them are still not going to walk away understanding. Some of them still believe in their own heart that Trump is always their president. And so don't expect these people to change. But however, they will have no choice but to go with that. And that, my friends, is quite remarkable. A change in the divination and the thing that we have seen this country strive through. We know so happy to be the chosen one for you guys, to help lead the way, to help calm you guys in a time of peril. Because I'm exactly there for you guys. I love you guys so much, and I said it from the beginning. I love you, and that's what's important. So let's see. Ted Cruz was there. Why was Ted Cruz at the inauguration? Why? Because he knows his time is about to be up and that he does not want to resign or leave his office or position. And so he knows judgment is going to come in the future. He knows he's going to be judged for his position and the things for inciting violence against the Capitol. So it does look like he is indeed going to be playing a big role in that and everything that's happened. And, I love you all. I really do. 4 years ago, we were not happy. 4 years ago, I knew in my own heart, and I said Hillary was going to win. She did win. She was thrown out of it. Is Senator Ted Cruz for the damage he participated in? I'm assuming you're going to be held accountable. I'm assuming. Yes, he will. I got that before, and I can look at it again. Spirits and Angels tell me, will Ted Cruz be held accountable? Okay. That's too many cards. Let me just take the top one. Okay, so here we have my investigation card. And he's going to try to hold on to his seat. But he's going to end up failing. There will be judgment. Again, it showed up in the future. Was told me that it's quite remarkable. He will be removed from his seat. Anyone who had participated in it will be removed. Yeah, Trump was indeed a monumental mistake. However, and I read on this before, and I don't know if you guys know this, I read on it and I found that, Hillary Clinton, part of her sole contract, and if you don't know what a sole contract is, just tell me and I'll explain it. Yes, Hillary was robbed of the presidency. She would have rightfully elected, and we all know that information is going to come out. And, what's it called? Yeah, so we all know that. Yeah, okay, so what ended up happening was that, I don't remember, honestly. I have no idea where we're going to start. I have no idea what I'm going to start. I'm just going to see what information come out about the 2016 election and who actually won. Okay, there you go. Let me just look at this as well. Okay, so here we have Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton in the 2016 election. We have here there's going to be an open investigation. Yes, it will be that Hillary actually won. Here you go. She actually won. She'll be given the credit, and Trump will be now declared illegitimate, and he actually off the throne. So it does look like it's an automatic yet. It looks like it's set in stone. I kept seeing this the entire time. It's telling me that this is what's happening. Now I just got my thought back, so I guess I was supposed to read on that first. What basically I was supposed to say was that, Trump and Hillary, they were supposed, Hillary sole contract is basically, sole contract is when, before I'm not religious in any way, but the Bible said, when you were born, I knew you before you were born. And basically what that means, that you know who you are before you were born. And so that is a sole contract. You understand how your life is going to go, your life path, your life purpose, everything. It's already set in stone. Accept your choices of free will, because there are the multiple possibilities of things that can and cannot happen. And, some things are met in stone because they're meant to be there to happen. So like Hillary, her presidency, her sole contract was not to be president, but to be robbed of the presidency, because that is within our karmic destiny to have that happen. For Donald Trump, he wanted to run for president to help his brand, but to actually lose. Donald Trump never wanted to be president of the United States. I mean, if you watch all the interviews, he said, I never expected myself to be president. Well, why would a man who's running for president never expect to be president of the United States? And so part of the karmic energy was that Donald Trump was supposed to be penalized and troubled for a lot of his wrongdoings and to be gone after. That's his karmic destiny, is to take on the presidency and have his entire brand ruined because of it. That is within his soul contract. That is his karmic destiny. And so I found that quite interesting, to say the least. So Trump is illegitimate. What happened to his impeachment? That's a good question, actually. So Spirits and Angels telling me Donald Trump is considered illegitimate and he's not the rightful president. Okay, maybe I keep that. Can I keep that? Okay, so my spirits tell me he didn't. My angels told me not to put that down. Okay, so if Trump is considered an illegitimate president, what happened to all his impeachment proceedings? Okay, so we have a sideways. What else? What happened to his impeachment? Okay, interesting. We have here the incumbent, right? He was the incumbent. Because he was the incumbent, he was already had the control of the power, so it looks like the impeachment will stay put. And it's within a matter of time. It's within time. It's within a karmic destiny to have this happen. Talking about karmic destiny, it's pretty funny. And yes, he never acted like president because he was never elected to hold the office of presidency. That's why he couldn't manifest that again, because it was a once-in-a-lifetime scenario. He was not supposed to win twice. Trump had lost. He is a losing incumbent. And, we have to thank ourselves and pat ourselves on the back because we really drove out the turnout. Where I live in Long Island, in New York, where I live in a heavily Republican district. My district voted 10 to 15 points in favor of Donald Trump in 2016. But when 2020 came around, the margin was so close. I'm not kidding you. The margin in my county was so close that it was only decided by 200 votes. 200 votes in favor of Donald Trump. Remember, Donald Trump won my district by 10 to 15 points. He almost lost the district. Almost. He almost lost. He only held on by 200 votes. You want to know how many people came out and voted for Joe Biden in my district? 81,000 more Democrats came out and voted in favor of Joe Biden. And that is how we did it. We did it. We made a Trump county that used to be in a county called Trump Country is no longer Trump Country. It is a swing state. Well, basically not a swing state, but it's really a swing county. And if we were a state, we'll be lean blue. We wouldn't be completely blue. But if we were a state, and it's quite interesting how that plays out. Trump made the presidency for his own agenda and made it like a business. America is not a business. No. Trump is the embodiment of corporate America. That's what he is. He is corporate America. Trump never did anything good for the country. He didn't care because he was never elected to do it. You see what I mean? So he was never elected. And, it's quite remarkable. But, I will be going live tonight, guys, so just make sure you have a whole set of questions and things you want to talk about now that, Season 3 is now open, so welcome to Season 3, guys. Tonight, sometime probably around 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Make sure you have some questions and anything that you would like to ask. It's going to be a very short little live stream, so I do hope you guys do attend. Put your questions in the comments below, and I'll see you guys very soon. Thank you all for being with me. Just know that if I'm not here, also I'm going to take a lot of your recommendation. I'll make videos pre-hand, and they will come out and be released after January 20th. So kind of think ahead to yourself. Okay, so what kind of questions do I want to ask going forward? And I will release that on January 28th, so I can make it because I'm going to be in surgery. And so I'm not going to have the time to be able to sit down and kind of do it because I'm going to be in a lot of pain. And just a little overview of what kind of surgery I'm getting. I dislocated my left shoulder and it fell down 6 inches. And because it fell down 6 inches, it pulled all my muscles with it down. So ripped all my muscles out of the socket, which means there's nothing actually holding my bone in place. And so what they have to do is they have to reattach them with tape and a nail. So there's that. So I am going to be in quite a lot of pain, but I'm going to try my best for you guys. And thank you so much for sticking by me and being such an amazing sport. I love you guys so much. You've been so kind and so sweet. And thank you for all of you guys who have donated, who have been with me since the beginning. I love you, and I really greatly appreciate you. And now we can finally sleep and rest and understand that everything will be okay. And I'm so happy, and thank you for choosing me as the guy who helps you and calms you down in a time of a crisis. And thank you once again, each and every single one of you, from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much. I love you, and have a very, very wonderful night. And if I don't see you at the live tonight, I'll see you in my next video. And you know what I always say, I love you. I'll see you soon. Bye, guys.